European countries are struggling to tame the COVID-19 crisis. Some of the countries are unable to procure enough vaccines. This is where China is trying to step in to establish vaccine diplomacy. Voice of America gets you more.
China's pandemic diplomacy comes at a time when Central and Eastern European countries face increasing pressure from their populations for life-saving vaccines. But their inability to procure the necessary doses has given China an opening, says analyst J. Stephen Morrison.
You know, the Western states, the most powerful European and North American countries are hoarding their supplies of vaccines. The Chinese are coming forward and aggressively marketing theirs and using them as diplomatic tools.
Distributing the Chinese vaccines is aimed at generating goodwill, but Beijing is also trying to drive a wedge between the region and its Western allies, says expert Valbona Zenelli.
You know, in Southern Europe, in Central Eastern Europe, has been this idea of pushing the dissatisfaction with the European Union and the way that the European Union has handled, vaccination, but also previously the crisis.
Since 2012, China has offered direct investments and loans for major infrastructure projects in Central and Eastern Europe and promised increased trade, but almost a decade later, these projects have produced few jobs or economic boost for local businesses. Now there are growing concerns over Chinese business practices that ignore labor rights and environment protections.
In most of cases, these are loans that will be paid back from the governments of these countries, and non-transparent contracts where we see Chinese companies implementing the projects, in most of the cases Chinese labor force and Chinese raw materials.
When it comes to trade, Zanelli notes a deepening imbalance in which Chinese companies are the main beneficiaries and local businesses have seen little increase in their exports to China. That may be about to change as China looks for new import partners to reduce its dependence on U.S. imports, says J. Stephen Morrison.
They're turning away from that deep interdependence. They're trying to lower that and they want to find replacement. Well, maybe then there's a more serious engagement here when they come and talk about export markets into China from Eastern and Central Europe. Maybe this time around it's more serious.
Morrison adds that China took a major gamble by rolling out its vaccines before completing the rigorous full trials. Failure, he warns, could be detrimental and not just for China's reputation.
That could destroy the public trust and confidence in vaccines. It could begin to set us back. The world needs to move forward towards a common achievement of herd immunity, of getting to 75 or 80% of coverage with safe and effective vaccines.
As China pushes to expand its influence, experts stress the need for a more assertive engagement from Western powers to ensure that China is not using weaknesses in Central and Eastern Europe to gain an unfair advantage in the global marketplace.
The most important thing is creating a level playing field, a transparent playing field for the rules of the global economy.
In Europe and beyond, where China has ambitions, experts say Beijing needs to prove that it is willing to embrace its responsibilities of being a global power that plays by the rules. Ardita Dunelari, VOA News, Washington.